position. Annie Power at the last fly. He's down. Annie Power has gone but in front of the last length. Melody Lloyd
By the first time, they're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely, Roger Loughlin, and Hoyt
From Archibald, Hardy Eustace defends his title, but Archibald is flattened out in second. Then he's third, and Mike White is beginning to power. He's drifting off the track line. It's fire, and Westwood's coming home. Swings the gun. Gonna win his fourth Betfair Chase, and Cordo Star is still the king. Cordo Star wins.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tailed Off, number 9. This is a no-holds-barred podcast that dives headfirst into the wonderfully weird world of horse racing. But as a reminder, I am the newbie, the racing idiot, and I'm joined by my good friends in person today, Elle and Duncan. Morning guys, how you doing?
Happy to be here.
All good, yeah.
Happy to be here in person.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
Hopefully you can hear us all right. We've got a few mics and some music going on in the background. So today we're focused on mainly a review of Cheltenham, actually, how it went. We'll cover a few things. So we'll do trainers in form, see how we're getting on. We've had a good win, which is good. An update on your horse sale.
Yep.
You met the trainer at Cheltenham as well, which is good. And then we'll do a recap of Cheltenham. So we'll do Bet of the Week, Bottom of the Week, some learnings, Stewards Enquiry, and then we'll do some punting lessons, see how it went. So, yeah, good. So let's start the trainers in form here now. So we've had 3 winners, 3 places. It's good.
Yeah, well, I mean, what day was it? I put that one up Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so put another one up Sunday. Came in at 11-1, so absolute massive result. And it is a trainer, a small trainer, Belinda Clark, who's actually, I think that's her second winner for us in this thing, and she's only ever had 5 winners. So she's coming in for us at the right time. That's the whole system. Finding these trainers in form, the small ones. Yeah. And we're now at the highest profit we've been at any point in the podcast to date. So we're £31.68 up from 25 sections, which I think is a very healthy ROI. So
it's really good. Yeah.
Try and keep that going.
I know, it's healthy. So basically, if you start from episode 1, put a quid on every single one, you'll be up.
Well, actually, there's a slight caveat to that. Is the biggest winner we had at 33-1. The first winner we had, I only advised half a point each way. Okay. So if you'd actually put £1 on every time, you'd be over 50 quid up, which it's not a bad return.
It's still decent, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you had a tenner on every time, you'd be 500 quid.
Why haven't I started gambling?
Double. Why don't you just do this and nothing else?
Awesome. All right, that's good. So let's get on to the horse then. So how's it going?
Yeah,
and I guess for those that, as a reminder, didn't watch the last episode, Elle bought a horse.
I did buy a horse. It's been a thing on my mind, a scratch I wanted to itch again for a while. We've obviously had our horse, Sea Eagle Fly, back in the day.
And Coastal Sun.
And Coastal Sun, which we'll speak less about. So we bought a sort of 7 furlong miler, 3-year-old for the flat this summer. It's going to be a lot of fun. Trading Newmarket by Jack Morland, who is an up-and-coming trainer, and I was lucky enough to meet him at Cheltenham last week.
Yeah, lovely guy.
So Duncan and I were there every day. You were there on the Tuesday.
Yep.
So it'd be good to get your thoughts on your experience.
And
I messaged on our little Horsey WhatsApp group saying that I was at Cheltenham.
Horsey WhatsApp.
No, it's just called the horse's name. The horse is called Call Out. And Jack said he was there, and he said it'd be good to meet up. So met him at the Arkle Bar, and he took us for a few pints, didn't he? And we must have spent a couple of hours with him, and he did say he'd come on the podcast, to be fair.
Yes, stay tuned.
That was great to meet him, and planning to see the horse in the next couple of weeks. And I know we made a bit of a joke about it last time, but there genuinely are shares available. It's not that expensive for the opportunity that you're going to get. So if anyone is genuinely interested in having a small stake in a racehorse, then let us know.
Might be good to maybe revisit it and kind of go through the costings and things for just in case they're interested. So
we'll try and get
Pete on, and he'll talk us through that.
Because it is it's a roller coaster ride, isn't it?
Oh yeah, very much emotional.
Yeah, very emotional. But 2 words: trainers enclosure.
That's all you need. Followed by the winners enclosure.
I haven't experienced that yet. Awesome. All right, good. Well, let's make that a weekly thing, shall we? And keep an update.
And we'll stick a video up on the videos.
Yeah, let's do that.
that.
All right. let's do Cheltenham, shall we? So yeah, it was my first one, quite experienced. I'll go through that in a minute. So we'll flag up all the winners of 2025 on the pod for those watching on YouTube. And then, yeah, just as a reminder, so we obviously did quite a lot of previews, didn't we? We did like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of those were anti-post, obviously, because we didn't do one
with the live fields.
So these are anti-post. So let's go through what we said to go for and what actually happened. So day 1, Constitution Hill. I couldn't believe that.
I've got to say, that is the most mental race I have ever seen in my life. I've been watching it, and I know you've been following horse racing for God knows how many years. I've been watching it 9 years, and I've never seen a horse race like that in my life.
Crazy.
Like, you know, it's one thing to see the favourite go down.
Quite early as well. Like,
yeah, I mean, he just definitely didn't pick his feet up as he went, or the hooves up as he went over the hurdle, and just that was it, just toppled straight over. So that was just dead silence. All I can think of in the crowd.
Well, yeah,
everyone,
60,000 people.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
But also, that's one of the great things about Cheltenham is that obviously you don't want the favourites to win every race necessarily, because that's not how punting works. But everybody was on that.
Yeah.
You know, there might have been a few Irish on bright days ahead, but you could just feel the air go out the balloon when he fell.
Exactly.
I think it's worth touching on as well is that we said in our preview pod that King of Kingsfield was obviously going to run with Brighter Days Ahead from the same stable, and he was going to go off like a mad cat's gold sort of thing, and she was going to go really strong, like she did at Leopardstown at Christmas when she won. But what was amazing is that they went off in front, and so Nico on Constitution Hill was probably thinking perfect. They're going to go mad gallop. I can sit behind that. That's exactly what the horse wants to settle. And actually He jumps better the faster they go, because the adrenaline gets him from A to B. And we saw on trials day when he went on a really slow gallop at the last hurdle. Yeah. Nico asked him for one, and he couldn't do it off a slow pace.
And it was a slow pace.
And they weirdly didn't go that quick.
Didn't do it at all.
And I wonder whether that's why he made a mistake.
I think that's what a lot of people are saying. They think it's that. But then after that, you just think, well, Bright Days Ahead's got this on toast now.
Yeah.
It's hers to and you're watching her, and all of a sudden, she's then paddling, coming around the home turn.
Stateman was cruising.
Was absolutely cruising. Yeah. And you just thought, well, here we go, Poor Townend. I started cheering for Stateman because I just thought, no disrespect to Bright Days Ahead, but Stateman was kind of, I guess, the forgotten horse of the race. Yeah. You know, it was pretty disrespectful that he was priced up at 10, 11 to 1, like in the morning of the race.
Yeah. He's not in each way better than back now.
I know, you look back at it now, you just think, fantastic. But then you watch him and you think he was 5, 6, 7 lengths clear, coming up the last. And, well, we'll get on to it in a second.
We talk about it now.
We can talk about it now. So Elle had a bet, an anti-post bet on, I'm trying to think who it is, Golden Ace at 50 to 1. And Golden Ace was coming in behind, so overtaken Brighter Days Ahead in for second place. Looked just dead set for second, that was it, job done.
Which you take?
Oh, 100%, 50 to 1 each way.
That's 10 to 1 a place, so
you're laughing. Yeah. And he leans over to me and he says, mate, I need you to blow on this one. So in what we mean by that is non-dodgy sense of the sun, guys. Yeah. And I've done it in the past where you literally like just blow like.
You've got to say there was an example at Cheltenham where that happened, wasn't it?
I'm trying to think who that was.
Was it at Cheltenham?
It must have been. I can't think who it was though.
I think it was in the Mayor's Hurdle.
Oh, it was when
Benny Did You?
Yes, it was when Benny Did You did. So we did exactly the same kind of thing, and then the horse fell at the last. So
no, I think you're underselling this. He's got magical powers. Because I had the same situation. I had the second horse in the Mayor's at like double figure price, and the favourite was storming to the last. And I said, mate, can you just we'll just blow and see if the horse falls over, which is such a ridiculous thing. He blew and it happened, and took a turn around it's like I'm a superhero all of a sudden.
Why don't you do that every race?
You've got to pick your moments at least.
So that's why I went over his shoulder. I was like, I don't know if you've still got one in your locker, but I can do with a bit of magic right now.
And then he went,
yeah.
And the horse went over.
Went down, that was it. Golden Ace hosted it. 50 to 1. Couldn't believe it.
I've never seen someone so excited in a crowd of 60,000 people dead silent.
Yeah. I was laughing. I was too busy laughing.
I wasn't Mr. Popular.
It was like you were in the away fan.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
What a race.
Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, we had that Golden Ace win, so fair play. So then we also had Kopek de Board.
Yeah,
win, which is nice.
Got the job done.
Transmission placed.
Yeah.
Which you take.
He didn't run as good as I thought he would. He was held up too far off the pace, but
tactics were slightly out.
He got the each way money, so
take it. Happy Go Lucky placed as well.
Yeah,
that was a good place.
And I had that 40-1, so
nice.
It looked bad.
Come around the home turn for that again.
It looks alright.
Looked pretty good going.
Just 11-year-old.
Stayed on well for 4. It was a great place.
Jericho Rock.
Yeah,
Still running.
Still running.
Because I was really kind of like, I thought, this could be a sneaky little each way, but apparently not at all sneaky. And it was, it got backed in quite nicely from the 20s that we took into, I think it was single figures. Just didn't absolutely soddle. So
He's had a lot of time off the track though, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Made a difference.
Then I went home. Little wins. So that was a good day out. And then you guys turned up second.
How many Guinness do you reckon you had on Tuesday?
Double figures.
He wasn't quite swinging, but you can tell you that a few.
I probably haven't seen you on that level for a while.
Oh, really? I felt alright the next day as well. Got away with it. Alright then, day 2, you guys came back. Ballyburn. Unfortunately.
I'm sorry for everyone because I probably bigged this horse up so much ahead of it. And, well, it was just, everything was just aimed towards, step up and trip.
If you got any money at all.
We need to rewind this because I'm not sure this was the case. But no, I think that was probably one of my most confident bets of the week, thinking like if you could get decent bid on, just thought Ballyburn stepping up in trip could only go one way really, and it went the polar opposite. Yeah. So it was you just knew he was beating a circuit out.
I think he was my most disappointing sort of horse of the week because he just you could tell really early on he wasn't jumping well, wasn't travelling, and Paul Townend just
race to watch when you know early on.
And you're just. But the problem is, he made a horrible error. I mean, he's made a few errors, but one particularly bad error down the back. And then you're kind of like, but then he started to creep back into it, so you just keep believing
it's
it's
the hope.
It's the hope that kills you. And then there was a 20-1 shot that won it, so I mean, good luck if anybody backed that.
Yeah, fair play. Well, you can come on the pod. And then we had the cross country, which is the most mental race I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was Galvin.
You watched that, did you?
Oh, yeah, I watched it. When they almost went the wrong way.
My horse that I picked, I think we put up on the Vanillier, thought he was going the wrong way and then veered off left again.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand it. It's just like zigzags across the. I don't know how they get around to it. It's not a sat nav on.
Yeah, I was going to say it is a sat nav job.
It's funny because usually they let you actually, as spectators, go across to the other side of the course and watch it, watch it in the thing. And I said to Duncan, things you're here. This is not once a lifetime opportunity, but kind of a rare opportunity.
Yeah.
We went down to go across, and they said, due to adverse weather conditions, we're not letting anyone into the middle.
It's dry.
It's been dry.
It's been dry. Yeah, there's no problems.
There was a bit of snow in the morning, but that was it.
A bit of snow at Cheltenham.
Exactly. Just can't have it. Yeah, can't be having it.
Right, then with the New Lion, which is a good win.
Very pleased with that.
I'd say that was in my top 3 highlights of the week, just from a personal perspective.
Yeah.
I actually lost my voice towards the end of Cheltenham, just as well we're doing this a week later. And that was the start of the reason why, because it looked like a real battle, didn't it, up the hill?
Oh, God, yeah.
And, you got the Willie horse, he's the favourite, and you got Gordon's, which is, a really fancied horse. And, it was a real battle up the hill, but I think he's pretty.
It kind of played out though as we thought it would. So I mean, as we mentioned, I think Willie's horse, Final Demand, he'd always said was like a 3-mile chaser in the making. And 2.5 mile hurdle is a lot quicker than you'd want for a 3-mile chaser,
especially with the ground right now.
Exactly, and it proved to be his undoing really. That kind of distance, and the yellow clay really came into it, and it was a real tough battle for him in the New Line. But thank God for Dan Skelton and Harry. Well done, Harry. With his
always like the Skeltons.
Yeah. After Harry got booted in the face, I think the day before. He had a hell of a black eye.
Oh yeah, what was that?
He got booted by a
horse.
Oh, was that the reason?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's across the finish line. You can see his eye.
Yeah. So that was a good win. Enjoyed that.
All right, then we have Maxim, Coral Cup, still running.
Yeah.
Awful. Joy Machine.
Joy Machine didn't run, so if you didn't run, no bet.
It's worth talking about this because we've been banging on about this horse for a long time as our sneaky one. You obviously had him up for Ascot. Then he was the Stewards Enquiry for the week after when he was given the most blatant handicap sneaky ride.
Yeah.
We thought, well, he's going to sneak into the bottom of the Coral Cup. Then all these horses started coming out, and we said he only needs a few more horses to get into the race. They had Be Aware, which was basically the favourite.
Yeah.
And it was almost as if they put all their eggs in that basket and said, we don't need two, we're going to go with this one, and we're going to win another race with another one. All the horses that came out on the 2 days before, he would have got into the race comfortably, so there was never a doubt of getting into the race. But they saved him for a valuable race at Uttoxeter on the Saturday, which is something they've done before. It's an ITV race, so the David Power Cup, where the jockeys get 500 grand for winning, whoever wins that.
Wow.
So every ITV race you get points for. So Harry Skelton's currently top of that pile.
Okay.
So they'd saved this horse for that race. So then we were thinking, here we go, boys.
All
Next
in,
job.
all in on
We're all in on him. And I said it to you, didn't I? It was 7-2 the night before. He was down to sort of 9-4 very quickly. And he basically was laid out to win it, wasn't he? And then Harry Skelton went too soon and he got chipped.
And Harry Cobden.
So we almost got the money back. We almost got it back.
Yeah, this horse owes us big time.
Yeah.
Next
He's a podcast horse now.
He really is. Sponsors it.
Then we had Thursday, Paddy's Day. So Tiapu.
Unfortunately not. But fair play, Bob Ollinger.
Bob Ollinger's never lost to Cheltenham.
Oh, wow.
Never lost. Never been out in the 90s.
He's never been out in the 90s. We'll have to post that reference. Jericho Dirt or Rapane.
You know either.
Placed, which
Yeah, he
is
was
good.
a good second. You know why he lost? Nico de Boinville. Old noodle job. Literally.
Don't trust him in a finish.
Coming over the last.
Literally the last podcast. You just like,
Yeah.
He was in the lead over the last. And then he just got nothing.
He got
in the
picked
run
up. Yeah.
Nothing left. Factor file.
Yeah, lovely win.
You know what Nico's like at the finish when he's trying to squeeze the end of the ketchup? Just like, come on!
Yes, Factor file came in.
Yeah,
which is
that
good.
was the easiest win of the week.
Yeah,
I'd say he was one of the highest performances.
Oh,
of the
God,
week,
yeah.
Even though
he could have won by.
Yeah, you
So
could have
much.
called him the winner so far away.
100%.
Yeah, that's good.
I think when you look back at that,
nice to have
And also the Super Boost, which was down the first day, down the second day.
yeah,
They boosted it to 5-2.
yeah,
That was an absolute touch.
it was a gift,
Yeah.
a gift of a price.
Thanks, Denise.
And now they're going to be sending Factor File looks like the Gold Cup next year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Essentially.
That's what they think.
Okay.
So
Is it too early to put there on their belt?
if I already told you that I've got a bet on for next year,
Come back to that.
Oh, we'll come back to
we'll
that.
come back to it.
Come back to your strategy later.
Yeah, I'll get
So
that.
Gemarand, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Loss.
Yeah.
Ginny's Destiny,
Yep.
loss.
Yeah.
Ran a good race though. Bear in
Yeah.
mind that we were quite brave to put that up because he'd been bombing out all season. He actually was leading 2-0.
Yeah,
Ginny's.
Ginny's,
Yeah,
yeah.
So
Well,
he was leading 2-0 and then he just faded.
Just faded up the hill.
It's a shame.
That hill.
I know.
Galopin de Champs. Oh, heart. That is a heart.
I've been having a shit day all day, and I was like, "It's all right. It'll get me out the hole."
And also,
Really
I think we went a bit aggressive on the socials with galloping because we were like, "This is Christmas come early."
Yeah.
But
Or come late.
I mean, you can you understand why he
Yeah.
wins 2 Gold Cups, but as Willie and they all said, like he just did not travel a yard.
But you know what? One thing I did say as a caveat on the podcast was he's a 9-year-old. He's been doing peak performance after peak.
Yeah.
Like, how many times can a horse,
so
any
many
sports
times.
man or woman or athlete,
And you always like just like one more. You know,
they're not.
just like
They
just
are
one
not
more.
machines.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And
Yeah, but it's not like he doesn't have the ability anymore.
yeah, but
I think it's just like
well, I
Paul
think the
said,
ground
he
was
said-
too quick for him.
Possibly, but it's when Paul was saying, he said it's like he just did not travel and he was just kind of waiting and hoping that he kind of came alive. And he said it was at any point that happened. And he said down the back straight, when they jumped the last before they came down the hill, he said he came alive a bit then. And I was just praying he stayed and then just kind of went out again.
Yeah.
He just wasn't
But
interested.
I think when Willie won it twice with Albin Photo, he literally ran him on New Year's Day.
Yeah, and then just kept
And then
him away.
kept it fresh because he realised that the Gold Cup takes so much out of the horse, and he's gone and done it twice. Plus, he races him way more often than he does some of the other horses.
Yeah.
So he races once in the autumn, then at Christmas, then in the DRF, which is
It's quite a lot.
it's,
Quite heavy.
it's
before-
close to Cheltenham, and it's close enough for a 3-mile stay and chase.
Yeah.
And I just think it's one too many, and he probably won't win another one, will he?
Do you think
You
he
can't
won't
sit
come
as
out
a
next year?
10-year-old.
10-year-olds don't win the Gold
10-year-olds.
Cup.
Yeah, I just think it would be between, say, the winner from this year and a potential Factor File.
Yeah.
But
Had a good run there.
Yeah.
Fair play to the winner.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
We said he was favourite for the Grand National. He's now not running.
Glad I had my anti-post bet on.
It's another one down.
Yeah, has another loss.
Then we had East India Dog, which place. That was quite a nice race. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was too short to back each way, which was annoying. But yeah, no, he ran a nice race. The winner couldn't have picked in a million years unless you were Dave Morley.
Who was it?
That
was on the
100 to 1.
Yeah.
Fair play, shout out to Dave.
So we were sat in the pub the night before, and the old man is going through the races next day, and he's like, "Oh, I like this 100 to 1 shot Poneros." And me and him were like, "Nah."
Yeah. It's usually 100 to 1.
Yeah.
All right.
But it is trained by William Mullins. But William Mullins had 11 runners in the race.
Yeah.
In the same race?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 70% of the field.
And this horse had never run over hurdles before. How the hell are you supposed to,
Yeah.
And we had East India Dog
Sorry,
even
yeah.
over the last, and I was thinking, we're in.
Yeah.
We're in business.
They just got picked up.
Yeah. Madness. There was a fair few mad moments this week.
Yeah, And then we had Lark in the morning, loss. And then we had the potato race, the Albert Bartlett, Jet Blue, loss. Now Protector Rap almost came in.
Protector Rap, didn't he? He ran his heart out.
He ran
his heart out.
But nothing unfortunately. So that was a recap then of what we picked. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, that was before the declarations came out. So some of those obviously didn't run the right race or didn't run. It is what it is. I based all my bets no run, no bet. So that's probably why I did poor. So I didn't change anything the day before. But no, it's good. So let's go on to learnings, strategy, bomb of the week, bet of the week, winners, losers. So I think from my side, I'll start. It's a great experience. Definitely coming back next year. Definitely going to do the full week.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone that hasn't been to Cheltenham, should go because it is, just for a day out, it's awesome. But if you're obviously into horse racing, it's good. It's just a great experience, isn't it? It's like the Wembley of.
So what do you think of the atmosphere? Because obviously you wouldn't have seen a racecourse probably that busy before.
Oh, it's just apart from when the favourite falls in the third, it is good. Like,
Tumbleweed goes down.
the atmosphere is just crazy, isn't it? You just don't.
It's so chill, like relaxed, isn't it?
How many people do you think were there on the Tuesday? 60,000, like that.
64.
That's quite big, isn't it, for a race, horse race? So, and obviously Cheltenham's just lovely. Like, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And it's the best racing. It's the best racing you'll see. Like, the best race course.
So
So
much
much
better
going
to
on.
win.
Yeah.
I went in very naively thinking, so I was talking to you about this, I think, the day before. I was like, right, everyone's there to win. They base their whole race around this, all of the research like we've been doing, you've been doing. It's sort of like, is a more simple strategy. So like, because Constitution Hill, like you think, they're just going to win because it's like a pinnacle for them.
Yeah.
But it was just a bit of a shock, really. So I had a winner on the first, which felt a bit hollow because then it just degraded for the rest of the day. So I had I basically like a couple of favourites each day, and then I had a couple of outsiders each day.
Yeah.
None of my, apart from one favourite came in, none of the favourites came in, and then the outsiders didn't come in, so didn't have a good week.
That's fine.
But I enjoyed
experience.
it. I enjoyed it. But yeah, my strategy was also like a lot of accumulators. So I had on the day accumulators, so like top, like the favourite or the second favourite. Which is it's only a couple of quid. But, if they came in, like,
It just reminds me of one of the podcasts we did, and we talked about our Cheltenham Muggiacca, and you were like, "What's a Muggiacca?" Now you know.
I'm the mug.
Welcome to the investment centre.
I thought they're the mug.
You've been initiated.
Yeah. He's one of us now.
It's only 20p, but I put on, I think, one of those Muggiaccas. And I was just like, I was obsessed with that for the whole week.
You do though, don't you?
It only lasted a couple of days.
Yeah.
I was out, so I was like, thank God.
As much as that, a couple of days.
The most annoying thing is it doesn't go to settled. It
just sits in
the
your
last
box.
day.
It's in
So
your
you
box.
just, every time you look at it, you're like, still there, still lost.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. I probably wouldn't do any of those like tri-casts or forecasts.
Yeah, you don't do that, do you?
I won't do that. I think next time I do more research the day before. It sounds obvious, but like we did so I did so much of my bets like a week before, 2 weeks before, even a month before. Just hoping that because the odds were so much better.
Yeah.
Like the odds on the course were crazy. That was a big lesson.
Yeah. It's the places.
I was going to put that into my lessons.
I placed one bet on course, I think, and that was because we had a
it's changed so much over.
Well, we can talk about that because
let's go on to that.
Because the betting in the ring, which we have covered we had got a question about it, didn't we?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I would have said that back in the glory days, even when internet bookmaking came out, it was still the place to be, as where all the money was traded and all the bookies were knowledgeable and they went to war with the punters. And it's like great for the punters because you get prices about whatever you wanted. Then over time, they've become more digitalised and less people are betting in the ring because they're betting on the phones.
Yeah.
And everybody started to say that the betting ring would die because even when COVID happened, the starting price of every horse used to be created in the betting ring.
Yeah.
So someone's job would be to look at the boards and say, well, this is the price of this horse roughly. And then because there was no bookmakers, because there was no crowds racing for the COVID period, they had to take it away and put it onto the online bookmakers, and then they never gave it back. And everybody said this is the end of.
Yeah.
You know, what bookmaker is going to make any money at the racecourse anymore? But when you've seen all these people getting restricted and affordability checks and online sort of issues with accounts, actually, the way to get a proper bet on it at the big meetings, Southwell on a Wednesday afternoon, probably not, or Wolverhampton or somewhere, but at your Cheltenham's, Aintrees, Royal Ascots, honestly, the ring was vibrant, and the bookies were saying it was the busiest they've seen the betting ring for 10 to 15 years.
Oh, wow.
With this Cheltenham, even though the crowds were lower than they have been, the betting ring was vibrant, and I was quite surprised at how good the prices were, because usually I would just go on my phone, go on Odds Checker, and if it's 7 to 1 there and I can get 8 to 1 with Bet365, and I can get an extra place, and there might be money back guarantees, extra bits and pieces. Why would you? I know it's nice to pick up cash, but you have to be disciplined.
You have to put it back in the bank anyway.
But honestly, so many times I was like, they're offering ridiculous prices, especially on some of the outsiders. They were going crazy. So
it's mad.
Definitely worth looking at.
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Cash will always be king.
It's the nicest feeling. Like this, you win a bet online, and it's like, okay, that was nice. But you win a cash bet, and that is something else. It is just the best feeling when you know you beat in the
What did Elle say to me the other day? It was like, it was a fucking nightmare. I had to deposit cash halfway through because my wallet was so full of cash. Oh, come on. Sorry, my 50s don't fit.
I was going to say, your diamond shoes too
We're
tight.
getting shit for that. Oh, you didn't take that one.
Right, Duncan, what did you say then? What was your reflection, strategy-wise? Like, what did you do going into the race then?
So I think for me, the main races, like the grade ones of each day, it was kind of looking at them. But because the bookies have the favourites priced, then they're favourites for a reason, because they are the best horse in the race. Well, unfortunately, as it turns out, it doesn't always work out that way. But it was a case of you kind of go through, and I think over the years, kind of being with Elle and Dave, it always used to be kind of a favourite backer. Yeah. But it got to a point of like, now my mindset has changed to more, can I get the favourite beaten by something? Yeah. And go down that road. So is there something in there that could beat the favourite? But in the grade ones, it's so hard to know that, because so many of them have course and distance form. They've won there. They probably won at the festival beforehand.
They all could win the race on the day.
Exactly.
And the smaller fields as well.
Exactly. The smaller fields kill it a bit. So
Gold Cup was like what, 6 runners in that? 7?
There was 9 runners in that, but it was like when you look at whatchamacallit, the Arkle, for example, had 5 runners in a grade 1.
That was it. Yeah,
and you have 5 runners in that, and you think Marshbury was the favourite, odds on. Didn't back it because it was too short, but that goes into your money roll up type thing, and then completely flopped. So you're just like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. So from a punting perspective, I think that first day was definitely a tough one, and probably especially for your first time there, difficult, because you've got 4 races out of 7 where you've got odds on favourites. Yeah. And they've got small fields.
I didn't even bet on all the favourites. Yeah. So it's like,
it's difficult with that. Yeah, exactly.
That's what we love about it.
Exactly. And then, like I said, looking at the horse's previous course and distance form, if they're specialists at Cheltenham, because Cheltenham is a specialist course. Yeah. You do need, if you've got that, I think that's a massive one.
We need Cheltenham.
100%. We'll come on to lessons learned later on, but keep that thought in mind on like the Cheltenham side of things. And then also just reviewing, I've started doing this a lot more this year, is reviewing horses that I'm interested in, so like previous runs, not necessarily at the festival or at Cheltenham, but the latest runs they've had, just to kind of get an understanding, okay, am I missing something here, or was it as good as I thought it was? Because you read comments on like the Racing Post app and things like that, but you can't really pick anything up from that unless you watch the race, because it could be something halfway down a back straight that doesn't get written in there for obvious reasons, and then you watch it and you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that good, or that was actually quite interesting. So that was kind of my strategy kind of going into this.
Interesting.
That is a top tip, by the way, which I know not everyone's got time for, but
Got this on record, haven't we? Top tip.
Top tip.
Top tip. Come to your dad. Come to your dad.
watching races. I mean, you listen to any professional punter on the bets on horse racing.
Yeah.
They watch everything.
Yeah.
Because your eyes will tell you far more than what you can hear.
Well, you literally get 3 lines. In
yeah, I mean, it's nothing.
exactly. Yeah.
That's usually on the last.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be genuine excuse. Because I think one of the best ways to win, as you said, try and go against the market is how you're going to win.
Yes.
So the market factors in all of the obvious things. You're trying to find the less obvious things. So if you figure out that a horse was, it turns out he bled, or it turns out he lost a shoe, or it turns out he made a bad mistake, or he was hampered by a horse that fell in front of him, or whatever reason it is that isn't clear in the form, and that's why you finish 9th
which
instead
would
of 3rd.
affect the market.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
necessarily
Then that's how you sort of get in there.
It's like they like your man, it's like value betting.
Yeah,
so you're trying to find value, the highest value.
The trainings and form thing teaches it to you. You've had 25. If you said to someone, right, based on if you didn't give them any of the actual stats apart from trainings and form, we've had 25 bets. There's only been 3 winners in 3 places. People are going to go, well, you're a bag of shit. Yeah. Then you look at the actual profit.
They're all pretty much on figures every time.
They're big.
When they comp, they comp good.
Exactly.
Yeah. And maybe that's just one of the principles that I've always bet on those trainers and form.
It's harder to do with Cheltenham, I think.
Yeah,
because obviously everyone's trying.
Well, they're probably all informed with Cheltenham.
They're all trying. That's the thing. So it's a difficult one.
What about you then, Al?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I've probably got a bit more experience than you boys in terms of been to many festivals now.
Don't know.
Season pro then.
2009 was my first one, can you believe?
2009?
Jeez.
Quarter-star second Gold Cup, I remember it well. But yeah, I think one thing I've sort of developed over the years is that I would probably spend weeks poring over the form, obsessing over the sort of analysis and stuff. And then basically you can tie yourself in knots. You can convince yourself one way, then you can doubt yourself and convince yourself the other way. Yeah, exactly. So actually I try and keep it pretty simple now. And I think one thing I did this year was have much less anti-post bets. Still have a few because as we discussed on the pod, you know you're going to pinch a price. Yeah. But I was a lot more disciplined in terms of only when I was really sure a horse was going for a certain race and that I believed it would be a short price on the day. Yeah. And actually I did the P&L tracker that we've got, I did one for my anti-post bets and I was actually up. Nice. That's probably the first time I've ever been up on anti-post only bets because I only had a handful each day. Yeah. Whereas in the past, I'd have about 30 odd bets going on to the festival.
Interesting, okay.
But then you're doing another 30 odd bets when you're there.
Yeah. But then those ones probably on the day or the day before will make up some of those. I don't know any of that, so
And the thing is, once you've got those in your locker, you can either just sit and watch a race and be happy and think I've got something to cheer for, or you can actually, with the latest information, go, I might change my mind. I might have another one today. So, I just say stick to the core principles. Duncan mentioned we'll talk about that in a minute, but course form, trip, track, round, etc., that kind of thing. And just rely on my experience to hopefully find a few winners.
All right. Well, let's do bet. Should we do bet of the week and bomb of the week? Yeah. For each of us. I'll go for yours. I'll go first. Bet of the week has got to be the old first one. KDB.
Yeah. Did you have any other winners that week?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Bless you. You should have just stopped there.
I did because they were anti-post, weren't they?
We told you to go.
I had a couple of each ways that came in and actually made more money than the first one I had.
Yeah.
So each ways.
It is each way to look at
outsiders, they're handicaps. But I still had a good time, and it's all learnings,
100%.
I'm doing this, you have to.
Yeah. Just watch the pay most, mate. So.
Yeah. What was the bomb then?
I mean, it's probably got to be Constitution Hill, just because of the way that race panned out. Because I had 2 in that race.
Yeah.
The 2 flaps.
You didn't have Statement. No, you had Brighter Days Ahead.
Yeah. You're not been watching the race blogger, have you?
Yeah. Cut your loss.
So I was like, Constitution Hill's gone. That's fucking mental. I was like, hold on, we're still doing Brighter Days Ahead.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we're going to get something from this race.
Yeah.
It's a good race. You blew. it fell. And then he's cheered.
No, Stateman fell.
Sorry,
Bright Days Ahead just blew up.
But then she did
blew
get
up.
kite-washed.
Yeah, she did.
Well, no, Bright Days Ahead got caught up.
In the middle.
Yeah, she got done over by.
I think she might have got. I don't know. Probably
She would have got second, but
might
no,
have
she would.
got
No,
second.
I don't think she
Each
would
one,
anyway. She'd got second,
Yeah,
but
so that was probably my bet and bomb of the week. Duncan.
Can we mention horses that I think I put this up on the day of the racing as to what my fancies were on the day. So if can I call that?
Yeah.
So Jazzy Matty, I think, would be
Jazzy
my bet of the festival. The story behind Jazzy Matty was 2 years ago when Michael O'Sullivan was riding, and we mentioned Michael on the previous one.
Yeah.
So he obviously died quite recently, and they renamed the first race of the festival after him in his honour. So he rode Marine Nationale and Jazzy Matty on the first day of Cheltenham 2 years ago and won on both of them. So we actually backed Jazzy Matty on that day 2 years ago. So
33 to 1.
33. Me, Dave and Al all backed him.
This was written at the start.
Yeah, he won that day, and we all went mental in the crowd. And then again this time around, he was running, and
We just
all
said to
backed
each
him
other,
again.
we've got to do it
It's
again.
written in the
We've got to
stars.
back him. We've got to
But
back
things
him.
like that shouldn't really happen, but
Yeah,
they came off.
we all backed him, and we went mental.
Yeah, that's when my voice completely
Yeah,
went.
no one else seemed to be on him around us.
No.
Absolutely nobody.
It wasn't that big price by the end of it.
No, he was like 7 or 8 to 1. No one just
That
seemed
was
like
one of those
smashing.
where I doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled
Oh,
down.
yeah.
That's the modern special.
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's
just
like,
keep
oh, I
going.
got it here. Oh, I got it here.
You're either going into a massive hole or you're
Hold on,
getting
I
out.
just bought- oh, I got it here.
Yeah.
That's literally what Dave said by the end of the week, because he was getting a bit chewed off with me winning all the time. He was like, oh yeah, and you've got one over here, and oh, I had it 10 to 1 online, and
But you know, I think
Sure,
the
bus.
one of the principles is just go in. Like,
Yeah.
if you're that,
If you're
that
on
sure,
one,
just do it.
make
You
sure
know?
about it.
Yeah, do it on everything.
We're hoping, because there was a camera that was watching the stand that we were in.
We're on TV.
And I'm sure we found out the following day that it was obviously filming crowd reaction. And we're praying that we're at the back of this shot, because
was
we are
literally
literally,
one of us.
everyone was kind of standing completely like statues, like obviously hand back the horse, and you could probably just see us bobbing around, jumping around at the back.
Limbs.
Well, if everyone else is silent, then
Exactly, I really hope
It
you
was
could
so
hear
funny
us.
because the next day we saw the
live.
camera crew, and Dave was like, "Oh, there's the camera crew." And he just wanders off and goes to talk to
As a
them.
chat. He's like,
And he was
"What are
like,
you
"Who are
doing?"
you filming for?" And what's going on here?
It's the new series on ITV. They did it last year at Cheltenham, so it's the
Champions
Pro-
Full Gallop,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're doing the
nice.
second season at the moment.
So keep your eyes peeled. and
Yeah, I was going to say we might be back on it.
tailed off on ITV.
Tail on time.
So that's your bet of the week. So
Yeah,
what's your bomb?
I mean, I think we've already kind of covered it with Ballyburn. I think
The
was
bomb.
what can you say? Beaten from over a circle out.
It can't get much worse.
It can. Set me up
can't.
magically. Chucked up the pot.
How many times do you think that was said over the week?
Thank you.
It can. Sorry.
See, because we're not on Teams or whatever
Yeah.
it is, he's just lost.
A few tumble
I was
over
just
there.
He
thinking
forgets
about
you're in.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's counting them up in his head.
Sorry.
Just having a nice time.
Yeah. On your own, man. On your
Just
own.
having a beer. All right, El. Bet of the week then.
Yeah,
It's got to be Golden Ace.
Well, I think, look, from a results perspective, it was bet of the week because I was a little bit silly it worked out, but I had an anti-post bet. We did discuss this on the pod when they ran in the Kingwell. I had an anti-post bet literally before she ran the Kingwell against Burdett Road, who we had anti-post for the championhurdle, just in case she won, because she was 50 to 1. She won the race. Then they were like, oh no, we're probably going to go for the mares. So I thought I'd cashed out my bet as a result of that. Turns out I didn't. So on the day, she went out to 50 to 1 again. So I thought, well, I feel annoyed now that I haven't got that 50 to 1. So I've got another 5 for each way. So essentially about 10 each way at 50 to 1. And as we've discussed, it was the most mentalist race ever. Duncan's magic blow. And jobs are good. So I picked up over 700 quid off that. But I didn't, it was one of the weirdest things. For winning that much money, I felt a little bit hollow because the whole crowd was just desolate.
I mean, it's such a weird. I'm trying really hard to be happy for you.
Yeah. It was
But it's so hard.
Yeah, it is.
So I think next time I'll just do the same bets.
And also because there was two fallers and a bit of carnage, you feel quite bad cheering in that environment.
Yeah.
I think if I was at home, I would have got a bit more mental. But
Yeah.
so I would say
I think you did pretty well going
Yeah,
back to
you
the
weren't quite.
maybe I don't quite remember it as well as you do. But I had.
I remember the dagger in my back. And I fucking.
I did also have an anti-post bet on Jasmine DeVoe at 33-1 for the
Super
Albert Barlow, which is probably one of the best anti-post channel bets I've ever had. So
Yeah.
I would say that's probably my bet because I
well done.
was talking about that and saying that I was on it. His jumping was the problem, but he stays all day and that's what he did.
Yeah.
Then you've been banging on at me the night before saying, "Oh, you should get on it." And I was like, "No, I'll hold my own. I'm doing my own thing." And then I thought, I watched him coming down there, I thought, "This fucking horse is going to win now."
Yeah.
It's always better to go with him and it loses, and you're like, fine.
Yeah.
Then you go against him and win.
Wish you got on it.
Yeah, exactly that. But then I was thinking, the way I always look at it now is, am I going to be more annoyed if I have backed it and the horse loses, or am I going to be more annoyed if I haven't backed it and the horse wins?
Yeah.
So you weigh up the two.
Yeah, it's hard. What's your bottom of the week then?
I mean, mine was Ballyburn as well, to be honest. Just because I think Constitution Hill, look, it was a difficult fall. John Bond, we know he makes mistakes around the Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Gallop and Deschamps ran his heart out, just wasn't himself. But Ballyburn is the one that sticks in my mind that I, like Duncan, maybe not as sweet as Duncan, but was so confident that he was just, he had nothing to beat in that race.
Yeah.
He'd won at Cheltenham before, he just had to jump round, you thought.
Yeah.
And I know, you can sometimes see a jockey will try to convince other people in the race that they're going okay, but you could just, when you just see a jockey busy early, that's not a good
worrying,
sign. And the jumping was awful.
Yeah, shocking.
And he made a really bad error.
He went through a few fences.
Yeah, he walked through a few fences. So I just didn't expect that. I just thought he would cruise it.
Yeah,
It wasn't like it's just done on the line. It was so bad.
No, he was gone a long way.
Which is odd, isn't it?
And he kept trying to get back into it.
An awful horse like going out on their sword, like you say, like Gallopin kind of thing.
Yeah,
like run his heart
that was a nice way to lose, if that's such a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the fact that he just ran so piss poorly from so far out, like it was just like.
It's only because there's conspiracies about all the favourites that were getting beat.
Yeah.
There's so many people on Twitter thinking that it's corrupt.
Yeah.
It's like, do you think these people want to lose?
Yeah.
Also, you see how much danger there is in
Exactly.
defense.
Yeah. Paul Townend on stage man going, "Fuck this, I'm going now."
Come on!
That's your mouth.
Tuck the old 20
I thought he sort of doing the old cross before he went over the last.
This is for kids.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're right, they're not machines.
No.
And if a football player has a bad game, everyone's like, yeah, shit, but it's a bad game. Let's turn up to score 3 goals or whatever. It's like, this is exactly
Yeah, you could go and win at Punchestown, no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just how it
Must
is.
they?
Yeah.
Right, let's quickly do lessons then. My lesson is to not do all of my bets anti-post. Sounds obvious when you say it like that. But yeah, well, I was so convinced that I wanted to beat the market probably more than anything. And I didn't want to bet on the day. I definitely didn't want to bet on the day, apart from our kitty. Kitty, obviously. Which didn't go very well.
It just reminded me of
races, I think.
Didn't I? Because the kitty ran to the championhurdle and it was back to me.
Yes.
And in my head, for a very brief second, I thought I'd do 250 each way on Golden Ace. And I was like, that's stupid, they'll all laugh at me. So I put it all on Constitution Hill.
I don't think we would have
Which
done
you backed that decision.
Yeah, no. I was all for it.
And
but
Dave, when I was going buzzing about Golden Ace, was like, did you have the kitty on? I was like, Dave, I just won 700 quid, like, I'm fucking
dividends. You got to take it out until yesterday, I did.
And then he was like, oh, the kitty wasn't on it.
He was desperate for that one.
I blew 30 quid, I think, on the kitty.
Oh, yeah.
Bastard.
That was another favourite.
Madgeborough.
Jesus.
Lessons.
Lessons. Don't give me the kitty. So I think that's probably it, really. I think I spoke about my lessons. But I also keep it simple. I think that's the right. You know what you're saying, because you can really you can go into bloody absolute rabbit holes.
Yeah,
so
100%.
yeah, keep it simple and be a bit more flexible. I think the day before.
Yeah.
So it's my first experience going to the Moreland household at Cheltenham, and it's a it's a man cave.
It's a
So
scene.
You go in and there's obviously racing on TV. It's like Ladbrokes.
It's like a bench.
Racing TV. You've got pages and pages of notes. Like Dave's notes was insane. Like literally A4 pages and pages. I was like, whoa, it's insane. Like, it's just, and I was on the bloody. I thought we were all done. I was like, to turn up to have a few beers and
Off we go.
it's like, no,
right to the bit red.
literally.
You keep looking.
I wake up and I've got that message saying Super Boost here, Super Boost
So what
You've
happens?
got to be so on. That's why no one could get a message out of me during Cheltenham. There's only one thing.
And you shouldn't expect that. All right, then. What about you? What are your lessons?
First one I'd say is don't do muggy hackers.
All right.
I think there was a stat beforehand. Well, no, I had a few muggy hackers, and not one of them came anywhere close. There was a stat that someone had flagged. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or something like that. That 10 years, so not including this year, so this was before this Cheltenham, but the last 10 years, the shortest 4 horses that have been put up like price favourites that have been put into ACCAs have all lost. Like all those ACCAs.
Well, as in, not all the horses.
Not all the horses have lost.
That
That ACCA with the four horses accumulated has lost.
Did you see anyone win or know like on social media that won by a big ACCA?
I don't think so. The closest that I think I saw
was
was
you see them every Cheltenham. That's why
Yeah.
people get sucked into them because you will see them on Twitter.
But I mean, we said ourselves, in all honesty, we said like we were messaging Ellen and I like, in the morning before we got up on the Tuesday and said, I can't see these 4 favourites to get. Can't see
I was going to have 100 quid on it at 7 to 1.
Yeah.
I was genuinely that thinking I can't see. Well, how does this not win?
Yeah.
Thankfully, I did not.
Yeah, I was going to say, save you on So yeah, I'd say that's the first thing. I won't be doing muggy hackers now.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going to hold you to that.
I was going to say, maybe one. And like I say, I think adding into that, like single bets are the ones to get profit, like not the hackers. So many people are like, you want to go for the big win, which so very rarely happens. Stick with singles, single bets. Either the each ways, as it's already proven with the the tips and stuff like that. You don't have to be betting like stacks of big each ways. You can just get place money, and you're still going to be making your money back. And then the next one we got, which might be a bit technical, but the old. So I mentioned about horses that go in through who've got Cheltenham form, previous form at Cheltenham. But the difference is on the Tuesday, so the first 2 days of the festival, they're on the old course. So I think we've mentioned this in one of the previous pods. But the old course is very much more of it's one for like faster, speedier horses. Because it's a tighter track.
Oh wow!
Oh no, you didn't go 2 days.
You do when you're there. Like when you've gone and I'd never noticed it until the Friday. I think it was when I actually had a really good look at it. But then on the Thursday,
Does that mean
Friday,
run down the hills a bit shorter?
So on the old course it is, yeah. So it's
Because they were coming down that hill.
yeah, they go like the clappers.
Oh yeah. Oh god, it's steeper.
Yeah.
The downhill bit.
Yeah. And then you go to the Thursday and Friday, and then they move to the new course, which is known as the galloping track. So it's not as like the bends aren't as sharp, so horses don't have to slow down. So they're running at a far more consistent pace for longer. And the distance between, I think it's the second last and the last hurdle on that, I couldn't believe it. It's near enough like a mile between them. It's
crazy.
It's
So that is a key example why I backed Jasmine Devoe in the Albert Bartlett Post, because he won the champion bumper last year, which for any horse to win a 2 mile flat race at Cheltenham as a young horse, they're going to have bags of stamina and toughness. His jumping this year, he's been beaten odds on a couple of times in his novice hurdles because he isn't the best jumper of a hurdle. But as Duncan says, when he gets onto the new course where it's just favours stamina and there's barely any hurdles to jump in the last sort of mile or so, that's what won him the game. He didn't, the bits that take away from his ability, the jumping, doesn't actually inconvenience him because he doesn't have to do that much of it when it matters. So it's really important to know the differences.
Well, we kind of both made the rookie second when we look back over it. So we had Lark in the Morning. It's one of ours, which we put up
this is a key
on the pod, which is one of these. So Lark in the Morning won last year or 2 years ago.
No, it was last year.
Last year in the Fred Winter. So that's on the Tuesday.
Doodles.
The juvenile race.
Put that picture up. I should have done that.
Here we go. So that horse on the Tuesday, which is on the old course, But then the race that he was running in this time was on the new course. So, of course, the horse didn't have the same stamina as it would need to win the race, and of course, absolutely finished nowhere.
He looks stupid now. It seems obvious now, but
It does. Yeah, it does seem obvious. A schoolboy from you.
Yeah, idiots.
lessons learned.
Not from
Every
me.
day's a school day.
Every day is a school day.
And then, I think the other one I would say maybe towards, I think it may be more for kind of like people who know a bit more about the horse racing kind of things, because I know Elle obviously does this. Elle, you speak to Elle about things about 6 months out, and he'll kind of know roughly where a horse may be being placed for Cheltenham the following year. I ain't got a clue about any of that. So it's not until about 3 or 4 weeks beforehand when the actual entries start coming out.
Yeah,
exactly that. If only.
Can see that.
Trade secrets. So I'd say like looking more into where horses may be targeted. So kind of watching potentially, some interviews with the trainers, or if they're doing like, different things like that, going around, to the trainers' yards, and they do yard reviews and things like that. Yeah. Just to understand where horses may be going, because then you can get a sense, okay, if this is where they're going,
this is where you
start to
understand.
But I think that's the kind of thing I'm starting to pick up now.
The only thing I would say about that is, so being on the other side of being in a syndicate of a horse, they're always saying they're doing well.
I never take a listen to that.
Yeah.
So it's just quite hard when you're like, it's another trainer saying.
I'm not listening to necessarily what the trainer is saying in terms of how well they're doing. It's more where they could be aimed at for a race. What races are they running in at the time? So what race would they potentially be targeting for Cheltenham for that? That's kind of more I'm looking. So that was mine.
Interesting, good lessons. How about you?
I would echo I say you can't cheat at this game.
What's this coffee shop?
Hey, we're live.
We've
got. I didn't say that.
Sorry, I was going to get the
He
dinner.
said that. It's a pizza over there. I would say you can't cheat at this game by thinking that you can just multiply all the favourites and get a.
Well, I wish I knew that.
They call it a muggy acca for a reason. But even I was sucked into doing it, and I know. So 7 odds on shots at the festival this year. Only 2 of them won. So
how does that compare to previous years? Do you know? Quite similar.
Well, basically so odds on favourites never used to really be a thing at Cheltenham. And if they did happen, it would be like 10 to 11 because they were just a superstar.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas now it's like you get 1 to 2 favourites at Cheltenham all the time. So they've been going in quite a lot in the last few years. So you can sort of see that customer confidence building with the punters, thinking this is a sure thing. It's a sure thing. But it's jump race. It's probably a bit easier to do that on the flat. But how many horses that didn't win? It was because the jumping let them down.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm sorry, you can't say you're unlucky. Jumping is part of the game.
Do you know what? You said this on the day. It's like you can't just turn up and expect to win. You need to be able to jump well. And if you don't jump well, you don't deserve to win.
But I actually found that more liberating in a way, as much as I was on the losing end of a lot of that, because I was getting sick and tired of Cheltenham being a walkover for some horses. It should be the peak competition. I think I'd echo your comments on that. I would say sort of try and stick to your principles and not be swayed by the public opinion and conjecture. And I've got a real good example of this because of a lesson that I learned over 10 years ago. So I think it was 2013 at the festival. There was a horse called the New One, trained by good old Nige. And smaller yard in Britain, not tiny, but decent yard in Britain. Has a horse for a big race at Cheltenham, so the Grade 1 Novice Hurdle, which is now called the Turners. I think it was called the Ballymore back then, or it might be called the Neptune back then. And anyway, that was the one I wanted because I thought this horse is showing good form. That's the one I want. Everything you hear and read and see about is all the Willie Mullins hot pot. This thing can't get beaten. Banker of the week. La 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 la. There's horse.
Basically, what we were saying.
Sorry,
we may have said that.
I was watching tailed off at the time. Put all your life savings on it.
Max racing knowledge.
And I was honestly, obviously, when you're a younger punter, the lows are harder to take. And at the time, I was so annoyed at myself because I got swept up in this. This thing can't get beaten. So and I was a student at the time, so 20 quid then. So I put it on the other one, and then watching the new one hack up the hill, I was just gutted. So this year, when we were having the same conversation about the new Lion, funny enough, similar sort of name, in the same race, against a Willie Mullins hot pot. It was kind of like we were saying.
You can easily
You
get swept
kind
up.
of put it out there, didn't we? We were saying, "Oh, we just been silly not backing this Willie horse because we probably have a default to the British horses a little bit, as much as you try and be objective between the two countries, because you probably see him more often and stuff like that. But this horse was getting steamed in. But we said on the pod, no, he is a 3-mile chaser in the future. The new line could be a 2-mile hurdler, and that's what we want for this race. So I was like, be disciplined, stick to principles, don't get swayed up, and put proof is in the pudding. So.
Done as wonders.
And I'd say similar things to what you said. So I mean, I think towards the end of the week, so Dave occasionally lands a massive tricast, doesn't he?
No, he did.
And if you do land a tricast, it's unbelievable. But doing forecast and tricast in every race, it's like
stressful.
You're adding sort of, depending on what stake you're doing, it could be 20, 30 quid a race.
Easy.
And then I was doing play spots and thinking, well, I want to win the play spot, and there's like 25 runner handicap, so I'm going to have 3 in that one and 3 in the next 25 runner. And all of a sudden you've got a bet that costs like nearly 40 quid for a play spot. And so on one, how much on the first day? 50 grand?
Yeah, 50 grand. They had, I think it was £11,000 to £1 play spot, and some guy had a fiver on it. Just pick one selection from each race and had a fiver. Won 55 grand. Yeah, I was going to say.
So I say probably be more disciplined, like you said, just basic bet singles and prepared to, like echo you said what you said as well, be agile. You have your
be agile, but don't be swept up.
Be prepared if there's genuine new information that you've discovered that isn't just hyperbole, that isn't just an opinion. Be prepared to change, because I would say I had the way I won at Cheltenham was probably from the bets I had late decisions.
Right, that's interesting.
Maya Town winning the handicap on the first day. Jazzy Matty, I probably wasn't on till the night before. What was the one you gave? Catch and Derry?
No, it
Catch
was...
and Derry?
No, Daily Present.
Daily Present, Daily Present. I was literally in the betting ring, going from my phone like, well, I haven't even fucking looked at this race, what am I going to bet on? This was the last race on Thursday. And you said, oh, I like Daily Present. So then I was like, okay, let me look at it. 20 to 1. Oh, I actually like that one. So
nice. Okay.
Be flexible.
And I was just looking at, because you mentioned the Irish horses versus the English or British horses. It's 20 to 8. It's Irish 1, 20.
It's actually worse than last year.
But
on the first, I
thought we did better than last year.
Huh?
I thought we did better than last year. I thought we did absolutely shite last year.
No, that was a couple of years ago.
I know we did. Only had 4
I think we got 9 last year.
Did we? Oh, I thought we had. Because 2 days in, I thought. Don't know.
Well, we got
Yeah,
but the thing is, Willie Mullins had 10. So because I think it is skewed, that figure, because of obviously if you say, well, if Willie Mullins didn't have those horses, would they be trading on? But because he is so far clear at the top of his profession, it doesn't matter what country he trains in, he would be getting horses. So I think that probably skews it. But it was a bit of a passion if you look at those scores.
I know. I didn't realise how much of a thing it was. So after every.
Do you know they used? Because they used to have Phil Tufnell used to be the British captain of what they call the Prestbury Cups. That's Prestbury Park was the original name for Cheltenham Racecourse. So they used to try and make it a thing, which nobody really cared about. And Phil Tufnell, for some reason, was the captain. I was trying to think who was the captain for the Irish guys, but it was who's that comedian? With the blondish hair, Irish guy.
Blondish hair.
I can say it.
I can't remember.
ChatGPT.
Irish comedian, blonde hair. Oh, it's such an obvious name as well. He's been on ITV and he's done loads of game shows and all sorts of things.
Andrew Maxwell.
Patrick.
Oh, I know you mean Patrick. Yeah, Patrick something.
We've lost all the Irish voters.
Yes. Sorry.
We'll cut this from the pod.
Patrick Keatley. Yes. He used to be the captain for the Irish.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
Okay, nice.
But obviously now it's a walkover every year. They don't really make it.
Yeah, just wants to turn up.
Couple just wants a free day out.
Right, let's before we wrap up, let's do Stewards Enquiry.
So what happens at the photo finish? They just
Stewards Enquiry.
And it was a joke.
Yeah.
Like, it must have been worse when you're there, but the amount of false starts was...
I was waiting for
and
the
on
first
TV,
race.
you're like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, some of them, like, I think it was Ruby? I can't. They were interviewing someone as like an ex-jockey, and they were saying like, they shouldn't have the starts on the bend. Because when horses are coming around there, if you're on the inside, it's absolutely fine. You can kind of walk in. Yeah. But horses are right on the outside of the bend. They have to trot in because they are so far behind the others. They have to come around a lot quicker. So as soon as they start trotting, other horses start trotting, and then everything fucking goes out the window. It's trotting.
The thing is that they are herd animals. I mean, you've got 20 or 30 of them in a line. One starts going a bit, the other one's going to be like, I'm going to go. You've seen sheep piss about. Come on! He's going somewhere. I want to go somewhere. And it doesn't take a lot for them. So it's unrealistic for that many horses revved up at the champion. The champion festival of the season. To think they can just trot and walk in like this.
It's when they do it for the fence. That's the worry.
So the reason why the BHA made the starters get them as close to the tape as possible, and why the tape is positioned where it is because they don't want horses to get into a full gallop before the first flight of hurdles or fences, because they're worried about injuries.
Right.
But it's like, Harry Skelton was on Knock on Sunday on this week saying, horses could fall anyway. And it actually doesn't take a horse that long to get into stride. So, so basically, when they turn and they've started to walk and they're like really far back from the tape, he wants them to continue that walk, or jig jog as it's called. So walking is quite obvious, and then jig jog is just a little bit more on the toes. But if you start trotting, then that's when they start swinging the flank. Because they're saying you're going too quickly.
This is ridiculous.
That's
a trot.
Slow it down. Whoa.
It's like Game of Pigs. Trotter. But it's just ridiculous because, as you rightly say, there was a few times when they all turned in a nice little bunch, and they were just on their toes, and then he could have just put in my opinion, it doesn't matter if the tape goes up and they're miles behind it, because they're all in an even, basically want a fair start. That's all everybody wants. But he was really trying to stick to the rules in terms of getting them to walk all the way to the tape, and then let the tape go as if these animals could behave like that. So that was my Stewards Enquiry, because I thought it was embarrassing. And I think the first day there was 7 false starts across the first 2 days of racing. And then what I saw on the Friday, I don't know if there was even one on the Friday. There might have been one, but not that I can remember. But they basically, I think the start just gave up following the rules and was like, I'm sick of being held up. And he was just like, they turned him, tapes were up.
We've got a picture.
We've got a picture of Marine in the Mayor's Novice, which was on the.
So that's when they called it. That's when they said.
As soon as the horse was facing the wrong way, the tapes went up. And if if that's not
so
fast,
different end of the spectrum.
Well, some of the lads who follow this pod, Paddock Preview boys. So
the two, thank you.
Matty, who's I've known before this anyway, through some friends. He is part owner of this horse.
Friends.
Horse racing friends.
Friends before the pod.
I have friends at the news.
will you and Charles West Ham? Just do this more often.
Really cool. He'd been saying for like a couple of weeks beforehand, everything's going well with Maureen, like they're really happy with her. I mean, she was the favourite at one point for the race 3-1, and then drifted out to 10-1.
It's heartbreak.
But I saw them after the race, and I was just like, I bet you're fuming. And they were like, mate, we are. They were absolutely just like, could not believe what happened. It's ridiculous. I mean, just ruins any possible chance of that horse even being there. You go there for this reason, and then that just ruins the whole thing for you. And you've got to wait another year potentially if she even goes again. It's shocking.
Right, on that note, should we wrap it up?
Let's do so.
Right, boys, it's been a pleasure doing this in person.
It has.
It was a pleasure joining you at Cheltenham as well. I'll definitely join next year. Early bird prices, end of April.
Yeah.
Oh, it's half price, almost. Not half price, but 30% off something like that.
I didn't really notice much difference.
No, if you get them before April, whereas we spent over £100 on that ticket, so.
I told you it's half price, I told you this is half price.
Sponsored by the Jockey Club.
Yeah, sponsored by the Jockey Club. Right, that's a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Tailed Off. Next week we'll do another deep dive, TBC on what we'll do on, but why don't you let us know, add some comments into YouTube, social media, let us know what you want to hear about. And let us know what you're liking, what you want to hear about next time. If you like it, just share and subscribe, and then also get in contact with us. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and then tailedoff@gmail.com. So yeah, until then, try not to be tailed off, and see you next time. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Position. Annie Power at the last race down. Annie Power has gone but in front of the last length. Melanie Light.
Try the far side. They're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely, Roger Loughlin.